Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I'm a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. And for over 2 decades, I have inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. Thank you for tuning in, and I am once again joined with my co-host, Kimberly Danielle. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, Stephen, and hello, everyone. I am Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, a communication strategist, and a coach who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. So today we have an opportunity to build off of some previous conversations and to dive more deeply into marketing. Many entrepreneurs have a great product, they have a great service or solution that meets an actual need, but they really struggle with how and where to communicate what they offer in a way that reaches the right people and the ideal paying customers. And marketing isn't just about visibility, it's about building connection and trust with our customers, our community members, whoever it is that we're wanting to serve. And for many founders, it can really be overwhelming, especially if you're starting off and you are the only one and you don't have expertise in this area. So in today's episode, we get to explore what effective marketing can look like for social entrepreneurs and how it can support both your purpose behind your business and your growth. We are honored to have our guest today, Jacqui Jones. And Jacqui is CEO and founder of 1 Degree Marketing, a Birmingham, Alabama-based agency that provides marketing strategy development and digital marketing execution for businesses. She's an alumni of the University of Alabama and the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. Jacqui has been recognized as the American Marketing Association Birmingham Chapter Young Professional Marketer of the Year, a Birmingham Business Journal Woman to Watch, also known as BBJ, and BBJ Top 40 Under 40, and BBJ CEO Awards finalist, if that wasn't enough. She teaches and develops curricula for organizations that support small business growth, including Bay Good, yes, I said Bay Good, MasterCard Digital Doors, Empowered by GoDaddy, the World Games 2022, which is brand of the Olympic Games, True Fund Financial Services, and way more. She really has a heart for small businesses, and I love that and love having her on this podcast for that reason. And she also founded Elevation Academy in 2019, which is a subscription-style membership that provides live marketing education workshops and webinars and houses a community and knowledge library for members. She is committed to providing valuable marketing knowledge needed for growth to the smallest businesses in organizations that need it most. So we are excited and happy to have you here with us, Jacqui. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I should have given you a shorter bio. I felt like it took forever.
Well, I think the bio also just is a reflection of the expertise that you bring to the space and the many places that you've been in, and also kind of a full picture of what people get to hear from you, given where you are coming from and these types of awards and things that you've accomplished. So yes, we could have read a shorter bio, but why cut down on the greatness and genius that you bring to the space?
Listen, I appreciate everyone knowing I'm qualified for the conversation. I always tell people when I teach things, I'll give you this so that you know I'm qualified, and then we're going to get off that because that's not why we're here. So I appreciate you taking time to read all of it.
Of course, of course. So, given what has been shared, you've built a thriving digital marketing agency. You've served a range of businesses and organizations. What first drew you to marketing and then more specifically to supporting small and mid-sized businesses?
So me and marketing go together real bad. And I tell people that all the time because it has been a part of my life in some capacity for as long as I feel like I've been alive. But right before I started my firm, a lot of people, more people know this now, but I was a professional songwriter. So I grew up, yeah, everybody's head went like, so I grew up doing a lot of musical things. So musical theater, all that kind of fun stuff. But when I got to college, my mother was like, do not get a degree in something you have been doing your entire life. And I was like, okay. I see you. That makes sense. She also said she wouldn't pay for it if I did. So I definitely chose something else. So I went with marketing, which honestly at the time was more of another outlet for me to do more storytelling in some capacity. So what happened in transition though was that I get to do the same thing I did as a songwriter, but in a more professional space. I feel like I'm one of the few people in the world who has a very creative side, but a very logical side. Like most creatives can't arrive on time. They can't they can't be deadlines that great because we get caught up in what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to communicate, the symbolism of it all. And sometimes that shows up in very not so great ways in professional settings. But I'm also very tedious and data driven. And also, so I happen to have both sides. So as I transitioned from songwriting for more personal reasons, like healthcare coverage and consistent checks and things of that nature, I was able to take the skill set that I got from my marketing degree and experience and say, hey, I can still write the song for people and not have to stand on stage and sing it. So I took that same, let me hear what you want to communicate. Let me hear where you are in life. Let me hear where your goals are. And let's write a song, which now look more like, let's build a strategy. Let's, create the graphics, create the assets for how you're going to stand on stage and sing this song and execute it where you're comfortable, but it translates to the audience in a way that's comfortable for them. So it's the same job. I typically will tell people, but that's kind of how I arrived at doing marketing. Now, that little piece for small businesses was because in the beginning, I was gung-ho about not leaving people behind like myself. Very small solopreneur. I have an idea or a talent or a skill, and I want to make sure that I get it out there to the world. So I was like, I am going to build my business on people like me, and I won't leave us behind. And then I realized people like me have no budgets. So I was like, I can't grow a business and start a payroll with people like me. So I added an audience to my target, which was organizations and companies, nonprofits who support people like me. They have the money. So I begin to market to them to be able to provide the service and support that I wanted to people like me, but on someone else's dime. So they became a target audience for me. But I refuse even now to leave people like myself. And I still say myself because I still don't have the biggest marketing budget in the world, despite doing it for a living. So I speak from a place of understanding, but I still refuse to leave us behind. I still refuse to not explain it in a way that's, understandable for people where they can immediately turn around and apply it. Like that is something I feel very strongly about because big businesses were once small businesses. And if I don't take time to help invest in that, then we see this kind of cyclical nature of businesses and organizations not growing. And I just want to do my part.
Fascinating, interesting hearing your journey and how you tie that into coming from the space of music and theater and being a creative. So thank you.
Of course.
And our listeners would want to know, is there any songs that you've written that they would be familiar with?
This is the most commonly asked question after I
I
say that,
know.
which is why you
I know. So
don't
we
say
have
it.
to ask that question just briefly, if
You know,
anything.
let me say it this way, and this is the marketer in me. I don't know what the listeners listen to, so I don't know. But
That's a good answer.
I
That
know.
is, that
Listen,
is.
that is the marketer in me, really, really strong. But I will say there are people that I've worked with who have songs that have charted that they probably know. So the answer is yes. Look how I did
Well,
that, but I didn't say. Yeah.
Well, listeners, you will just have to Google
No, please
Jackie
don't. Well,
Jones.
and it would be a different name, so it's okay.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
but there have been probably I'll say this. One of my favorite people to work with was Shantae Moore. And
Mm,
that's because she's so sweet and so nice. But I've also worked with a lot of your Atlanta-based artists. So your Ludacris's and your
nice.
Sierras and those kinds of people. Just because they're very close to Birmingham and people thought I lived there for 5 minutes because I was
Okay.
always there. But there are people, but it's not why we're here. Go on.
Well, listeners, we now return to our regularly scheduled program. The next question. Um, a lot of what Do Good X does is work with social entrepreneurs who are intentionally trying to do good in their community. And so I'm curious, what, if anything, is special about marketing for social entrepreneurs versus traditional business marketing or marketing for traditional business entrepreneurs?
You know, I love that you said what if anything, because marketing at its core, and I like to remind people, is a science. My
Hmm.
my degree is a science degree, right? Which is weird when you think about business. People don't typically think about it being a science, but it is. It's a science of understanding people and behavior and things of that nature. So I always tell people it's a very creepy industry to be in. So at its core, everyone's marketing looks the same. The best practices are the same. I think what social entrepreneurs get a chance to do that they can lean into, that a lot of people struggle to lean into in other spaces, is that your story and the connection that you have with your audience is such a centerpiece. In other spaces, we have to incorporate and make it a piece and try to toe the line of, do you believe what I believe? Are you like me? Do you want to invest in the things, like, do you value the things that I do? But when you are focused on impact and community and all of that, you can lead with that. And that makes it a whole lot easier for you to story tell in a way that doesn't make people feel like, well, why are you telling me this? That's very different and very unique and very powerful. The rest of us, outside of that world, and I say us, but I guess in some way I'm definitely a social entrepreneur, but the rest of the world, just they struggle, right, to say, because it's still important. Again, it's about the same across the board, but they struggle to say, why would I mention this? What if they don't like it? What if we don't connect in this space? But when you lead with, I'm doing this for this reason, you never have to ask that question. You know that the audience that you've attracted believe what you believe, at least in that respect, right? So let me put that little disclaimer out there. Don't go too far. Stay where you connected. Don't make any assumptions. But you can lean in a whole lot more, which actually makes the marketing a little easier. If anybody believes that. If anybody believes marketing is easy, period. But it makes it a little bit easier when you can lead with that with confidence and not feel like you're having to question it every step of the way. But across the board, marketing is marketing. And it's a beautiful thing because that means everyone can learn the same things and apply them as they see fit. But I love that you can lean into that personal connection from the beginning and not worry about it.
Mm.
So you said marketing is marketing, and this kind of goes back to kind of a foundation. Many entrepreneurs, many people in general, equate marketing to social media. But
Yeah.
that's only part of the picture, and it can be a small part of the picture. How do you define marketing, and what approach do you encourage founders, especially, to take when approaching or when doing marketing for their businesses?
Oh, yeah. When you, that's the deep breath that I have to take. Every time I teach a class, and I do this particular class regularly right now in this particular part of the year, and I always ask the question, when someone says the phrase, I do marketing, air quotes, right? I do marketing, which I know every entrepreneur has heard someone say to them. I always ask the group, what does that mean to you? Like, what does I do marketing mean to you? And what people quickly realize is marketing is such a large space. And when you hear marketing, someone could be referring to everything from a flyer in a t-shirt to a Google ad to a billboard, to a global campaign. You just do not know what quote marketing is, right? For me, marketing, again, and I keep saying the word science because that's what it is to me. It is the application of understanding people really, really well, being able to apply that understanding to a desired outcome. That's what it is to me. And it's such a vague definition because I could use any channel, any space, any vehicle to achieve that if I'm flexible and willing and agile enough to do so, and if I have the resources to do so, if I have the creativity to do so, I can connect with whoever it is I'm trying to connect with in a way that pushes my agenda, my goals, the impact I'm trying to make forward. And so when I'm talking to founders of small business owners, here is the thing that is most important. Social media, especially, is like the front lines. But if any of you have ever been in the military, I was in the Air Force, by the way. If any of you have ever been in the military, you know that the front line is not where the plan is hatched, right? Even if you haven't, you understand that by the time we get to the front lines, a lot has happened. We have trained, we have learned things, we have learned people, we have equipment, we have whoever's leading us has told us which way to go. The same thing is true with your marketing. By the time a post goes up for social media, and this is true even with events, anything that's happening, by the time the thing is happening, what I need you to know is that your job is all the stuff before that, all of the things. And it begins with, what is it I'm trying to accomplish with anything after this? So defining what your business or organization goal is first is key. There is no marketing goal, no social media goal, no anything goal without a business or organization goal. What are you trying to do? Know your business well enough to know what you're trying to affect. If you can do that, the marketing is not as hard as we make it out to be. And by the time you get to social media, you've unpacked what I need to do, what I'm trying to accomplish, what my measure of success is before you ever get to social. So if I have to tell you to do one thing, it is to define your own business and organization goals first and let every other marketing decision be informed by that and not just by, oh, it's marketing. It's not separate. It's a support, if that makes sense.
That's
That's
good.
good. So, this whole idea of like starting with your business goals is so important. And I imagine, that then determines which social media channel that you use, whether it's
Absolutely.
TikTok or whether it's, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera.
That's
But
right.
what I'm curious about is AI is transforming how businesses approach marketing. And looking ahead, what excites you or what concerns you about the role that AI plays in shaping the future of marketing for small businesses and social entrepreneurs?
I miss the days where AI stood for Allen Iverson. I just want to say that. I just want to say that right now. I miss the days
Yes.
when I didn't hear these two letters so often together.
Mm.
So that's one thing that's on my nerves real bad. But I recognize that it's a part, I feel like that tells my age. I feel very old saying that. But I I recognize that AI is being integrated into our lives in many, many ways. And I think that it's interesting, talk about marketing. It is interesting how marketing has made us believe that it's so new because it's not, right?
Hmm.
You have been getting reviews on your, Amazons and your Targets or wherever, summaries of things for a long time. You have been getting suggestions of things for a lot of that stuff is AI. But when we got to generative AI, right, where the masses could use things to prompt and to create, that's when it kind of, in a very marketing sense, they made it more important to us. And the message became stronger. You too can do this, right? So when I think about AI in the world of especially small businesses, solopreneurs, social entrepreneurs using it, I think it's important to acclimate yourself to the tools that are around you. So we don't want to get left behind. So I think it's important to know what you can use, vet the tools that are available to you, and make sure that you're not using things just for the sake of using them. Just like everything else in your business, everything that is a good idea is not good for your business. The thing that concerns me, there are a few things that concern me. I'm gonna try my best not to stay on this soapbox for too long. The things that concern me is that because people have asked me, am I worried about my job? Right? It's like, well, one of everybody's favorite chat GPT prompt is act as a marketing strategist to dot, dot, dot. And I always go, I'm offended, but it's cool. I understand. But I'm never concerned about my job. I'm never concerned about the work that I do because what I know is that AI will generate for you whatever it generates if you don't give it enough information. It's just like accounting. It's just like everything else. My accountant always tells me personally, for a reason, trash in is trash out. So if I don't put good information in, I don't get good information out. So if you can't define in your prompting and things like that, all that stuff I told you you need to know about your business, about your audience, about your goals, important information, you still have to know that in order to get good information, effective information, even in creating images and all that kind of stuff. So that's one thing that concerns me, is that people will think that it's a cheat code and not a tool. It is not a cheat code. Now, granted, it's a bit of a cheat code because it'll do it quicker than I will, and that's a fact. I use AI a lot. We use AI a lot as a team, but we also know what to put in order to get effective information out. So my concern is that people will jump over, I still got to know my business. I've still got to know all of these other things. The other concern I have is an environmental impact. AI utilizes a lot of water, and I don't think people realize that, all of these data centers and cooling stations and all of this stuff is utilizing a very important resource of ours. I remember reading some time ago, because I'm from the South. We're very polite people. And so I call my chat GPT Charles, because that's how often I talk to it, that it needed a name. So I call it Charles. And I remember I would say thank you after I got the information back. Thanks, this is great. I appreciate it. I'll be back later. Like, almost like it's a person. I read an article that reminded me that every prompt uses more water. And I was like, so it's like all of that. That's why you start getting the thumbs up, thumbs down reactions, because they're trying to decrease how often you respond unnecessarily. And so my biggest concern is that we all adopt this technology and begin to use it and integrate it into our everyday lives, not realizing for a lot of us how much of an environmental impact it's going to have on us, especially in more rural communities. And I'm in Alabama. We just got a little argument down the street about putting a data center. And that is my biggest concern, is that we will not be efficient with our use of it. And it'll be until it's some crazy, movie scene where everybody goes thirsty or something before we realize, hey, maybe we should slow down. And I think that's harder to pull back. So efficiency, or being able to go into it still knowing the things you have to know in life, and not thinking that you can skip that part, because you can. And then also just efficiency for the sake of our environment. Those are the two things that concern me most.
One question that I have is, what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see businesses making in their marketing, and how do you recommend that they address it?
One of the big, I keep laughing, y'all, because there's so many. It's a long list. Because what I know is that, when you are a small business, every dollar counts. And I tell people all the time, you're going to spend one of two things. You're either going to spend time, or you're going to spend money. One of them you can re-up on, the other one you cannot. So early in your business journey, you have more time than money. And one of the mistakes I see people make is a little bit of the shortcutting, but they do that with their resources. They waste their money in an effort to shortcut, because they feel like, hey, I got to do as much as I can, and they end up not doing anything well. So the biggest mistake then at its core is that people are impatient with their marketing. Good marketing takes time, and I wish it didn't. If it didn't have to, I would make a whole lot more money in life. I would not have to talk people into these year-long strategies and 6-month strategies, and hey, you're not going to see this move for 90 days. I wouldn't have to do that, right? But it takes a level of patience to understand that there's a bigger picture here, and that every marketing step that you take is building on the last one. So if you don't take time to pour into the foundation of your marketing, and this might look like doing a really boring marketing strategy. People think that's really boring. There was a time that I did too. But when you realize that having that plan a year later tells you what you need to post on social, tells you whether you should collaborate with that person, tells you whether you should sponsor that event or have or host that event. All of that's a part of strategy. And you could build that plan without spending any money. You could just spend time, right? And so having patience is the biggest mistake, or lacking patience is the biggest mistake I see small businesses make. They want it to be microwave ready, like put it in, put it on 5, zap. All right, I'm viral, I'm making money, I'm quitting my job. It's like, next week. And this is a time of year, for people who are listening, in July in the future. I'm so sorry. Today it's November, right? For everybody in the small business world, what I hear a lot of in my industry is, well, I want this because next year is going to be my year and I'm ready. And it's like you come to a marketer in November trying to prepare for January. And I've had to grow to say that's not realistic. I hope it works out for you. Number one, I will never say your dream can't work the way, for all I know, you're taking off tomorrow. But I can't make you any guarantees, promises, or whatever. I need you to have a little bit more patience. So I need you to be okay with building a strategy between now and the end of the first quarter. I need you to be okay with us executing that and then making adjustments. And so patience is the biggest part of your marketing. Take time, build it well so you don't have to come back, because you will come back. If you ever felt like, especially on social media, well, I do this, nothing works, that's because you skipped a step somewhere. If you can go back and actually do that step, you won't have to come back. You may have to build on it and tweak, but marketing is very humbling. It will pull you back very quickly, and all the money you spent will come right back with it. So it's like you've got to be patient with that process and realize that every minute you spend, every dollar you spend, a lot of those you can't get back. So be patient with it. And I know it's weird. It's a weird answer because that's not a marketing thing, right? That's a life thing. That's a mindset thing. I think that most people would think that answer would be, yeah, build a strategy. And it's like, that's one part of it. But if you're not patient with that, you can have the most beautiful strategy in the world. If you don't have the patience for executing it, then you just have a nice strategy. Congratulations. That doesn't get the job done. And so in marketing, there's a mindset that has to go there. And for small businesses, we struggle with patience. Ask me how I know. I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm not telling y'all anything that I do not buy and revel in. I am also impatient. I got a whole plan for an AI marketing workshop that I'm convinced is going to happen the first week in December. It is the second week in November. Why am I like this? Because I'm a small business owner. And so it comes with a package for some reason. So we have to be patient in order for it to work.
That's great. Well, if you are enjoying this conversation, you know this is the time where we will transition to our resource roundups, where we gather tools, tips, and resources that can help entrepreneurs build strong and sustainable businesses. So, Jacqui, let me ask you, if social entrepreneurs are working with a limited budget, where should they start? And what are the non-negotiables in building a marketing strategy?
Yeah. Where should they start? Start with you. That's number one. And guess what? You're free. You're already there. You're a volunteer. That doesn't cost you any money. And I bet volunteer hit somebody real hard in the chest because you feel like you'll get paid nearly what it's worth for your time and energy. But start with you. And I don't even mean start with the business. I mean, start with you. Start with your vision. Start with your personal non-negotiables. Start with your boundaries. Start with being realistic with your time and how much, energy you can put into what you're trying to accomplish. Because as I get into the rest of these non-negotiables, if you don't know for yourself what you can pour in, me giving you this information is no good to you. You are a human being first. You are a business owner and you're a lot of other things. You may be a parent, you may be a spouse, you may be the choir director at the church. I don't know, but you are a human being first. And you've got to know how much energy and time you have to commit to what you are about to embark on. So start with you. And that's non-negotiable. Because the word no is harder when you haven't done that. And somewhere in this journey, you have got to get comfortable with the word no, I cannot, no, I will not, no, I don't have the capacity for, and that's much harder to do later. So start with you. Then you can start with your business, right? What am I trying to do? Where am I trying to go? How am I trying to get there? And so the tool here is for you to build a strategy, but that's a business development strategy. It's not even a marketing strategy yet. Again, I can market anything. I got all kinds of random stuff on my here's a little puff that goes on my microphone. I could sell this if I needed to, right? That's marketing. Marketing is not as hard as we make it out to be. What it is intentional. And so you've got to have that business development portion of it and get all the support that you can from organizations. Like every state has just about a small business development center. So an SBDC, they provide all of these things for free. If you have support organizations in your area who provide all of this technical assistance, cohorts, get all the free information, gather it up and store it, right? Go learn, do all of that, develop your business. Do that. That's typically free. It's going to cost you some time, but it's typically free. When we get into the actual marketing of it, right? I want you to know that you are going to need to, one, figure out how you're going to execute in spaces. So if you are looking for platforms, right, this starts with how you do business. So you need to have whatever customer service, customer relationship management process that's already in place. This is your HubSpots of the world and your Salesforces of the world. How are you doing business? If you don't do business well and you do great marketing, it's not sustainable, because if I attract a large crowd and you can't fulfill the promise that you made in your marketing and messaging, all of this is pointless. And I realize somebody's feelings may be hurt, but I want to tell you before someone else does, but charges you a whole lot of money for it. You got to know how you do business. So have a system that is not even marketing related to run your business. Again, that could be a hub. We use HubSpot. I use HubSpot, but you have your Salesforces, your all kinds of other stuff, right? Nobody's paying me. So I don't know, lists of people like that. Google, things like that. That'll work. Then on the marketing side, we begin to determine what works best for you. So if you are doing email and you need your MailChimps and your figure out the channels you're going to use and use every free trial available to you. Here is my disclaimer. Do not use a free trial until you are ready to use it. What do I mean by that? There is an actual revenue strategy around getting people to sign up for free 30 days and then forgetting that they did it and then it running for a couple months. Businesses actually define that in their revenue strategy. They know you're going to forget. They know you're not ready to use it. And it'll be 3 or 4 months or a year of $29.99 before you go, man, I haven't used this, but I'm going to. That hope and aspiration keeps you paying for it. That's good marketing. It's manipulative as all get out, but it is good marketing, right? So use the free trials, because you're not just looking for a good tool. You're looking for what works best for you. All these tools do the same thing. I always tell these tools for everybody. They're for the streets, right? It's just they all doing everything out here. It's okay for you to utilize anything. What works well for you? What do you navigate well in? So this is the difference between a Constant Contact or a MailChimp. They do the same thing. There are some differences, but if you don't know how you do business, then I can't tell you which one is best for you. So knowing how you do business and seeing what works best for you as from a user-friendly standpoint, use the free trial when you are ready to use it. I want you to have 30 days of content ready before you pick up a HubSpot, a Hootsuite or a later or CodeSchedule. Have the 30 days of content so that you can go in there and use the tool and make an informed decision about whether you should spend your money on it. Everything costs money. If you're like, I'm not consistent enough, use the free tools. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Meta, all of them you can schedule for free. If you're not ready to do so this is about knowing yourself, knowing what your capacity is, your time is. How far ahead can you get? Is it worth it to spend the money on this platform? Knowing yourself, knowing how you do business, and finding the tools that support that. That feels like a very long answer to not give y'all a list of platforms, but I hope it makes sense.
No, that's
Yes.
very good. Very helpful.
That definitely makes sense. What simple metrics or indicators should businesses track that reflect that their marketing strategy and what they're hoping to do is actually working?
Hey, listeners, raise your hand if you're tired of hearing me say, this is not a direct answer, but so the metric that you track, and this is a marketing lesson. How you define success is up to what you're trying to achieve, right? So I'm going to answer this in an example, but the answer is very general, because what you should track and what those metrics are truly based on what your goal is. So you could have any goal, and so there's no real answer for that right now, but let me give you an example. If my goal is brand awareness, and for a lot of service providers like myself, that's all we really can do. It's unlikely that someone is going to go on my company's Instagram page and decide, oh, I want to be with them for a year, and I'm going to sign up for a retainer, thing. Unlikely. So What I do need to do, however, is to make sure that if my goal is brand awareness, that the metrics in those channels, such as impressions or engagement, where more people are seeing the content, more people are clicking on things. So those types of metrics may speak to my goal. Now, whether those things indicate to me that the brand awareness is growing, if that's the goal, that may be true, but my revenue may not be moving. And so the question becomes, is there a goal for a particular platform? And how do I think that informs a goal in another place? What has to happen for me to see the engagement grow for brand awareness, and then see that it now is going to move? What's the pipeline? So great, they're on Instagram or LinkedIn. That's wonderful. What did I ask them to click on to get them a little closer to me? Are they joining an email list? So now it's how many people, how many subscribers do I have? Is that an indication of the goal being achieved, right? Because then if the goal is revenue, so I have multiple goals: brand awareness growth, revenue growth, or lead growth, or whatever. So the question becomes, what channel represents that goal, or if there are multiple, and what metric within that alludes to the fact that this is going well? Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, that definitely makes sense. That
Great.
definitely makes sense. Hopefully, you all who are tuning in, you can take what Jackie just said and apply it specifically to your business, because,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not a one size fits all
it's
answer to
not.
that.
And I,
And
and I will say this, I want to encourage everyone that's listening, because I realize I talk about this stuff like it's so easy. I know it's not, y'all. I promise I know that. But I want you to know that if you don't know, Google does. So if you make a decision, again, this is why you have to start with what you do know, which is your goal in your business. So if you know what your goal is, and this goes back to the AI conversation, if you need a little support in this, or you can go to Google, or you can go to ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you like to use, and say, here are my business goals. What channels should I use to accomplish it? So here are my goals. Here's my target audience. This is where you got to feed it good information. And if you say, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, can you tell me what channels are typically best for this? And then what metrics should I try? You can ask that question, because it is different for different things. Now, a little tidbit here, especially for you AI, generative AI users, asking your chat GPT or Gemini, what questions do you have for me in order for you to give me the best answer here? Is there anything else you need to know from me in order to give me a more informed answer? And let it ask you questions. That sometimes when you don't know what you don't know to put it in. So maybe what you put in is, what else do you need to know from me in order to make this work? So aside from my business goals and my target audience or whatever, what else do you need to know in order to tell me what I need to track? How often do I need to check it? How soon should I make changes? All of those are questions you can ask in a thread conversation with AI. Now, would I prefer you did that with your local marketer? Absolutely, I would. But for budget purposes, why don't you do that? And then maybe once a quarter, go to a marketer like myself or anyone else and say, can you check my homework and make sure that this is not being biased, that this is not giving me random crazy information, that this is doable, that I can adjust this in a way that's more realistic. Like, you can do that once a quarter. It doesn't have to be, retainer or whatever. Work with what you got.
so, one last question here around resources, and some of them you've already mentioned, but curious to hear if you have any more to add. 1 to 3, maybe low cost or free tools that you could recommend to small businesses who are trying to build or strengthen their marketing efforts.
Absolutely. And this time I promise to be very direct, y'all, because I know I have been like, ooh, and just whatever works for your world. I have no answers for you. So I will be very direct this time. For most people, because social media is such a huge part of what they do, and that is the lowest hanging fruit, the barrier to entry is so, so low. So I will say, and it's funny because I'm still not going to give you a direct answer. I will say picking a social media scheduling tool is important. So, let me make my disclaimer. I do this for a living. So everything I'm about to say costs me money because I do this for a living. And I always say that because people are like, oh, I'm going to use what you use. There are 16 people's social media accounts in our systems. So again, we do this for a living. However, when I started this business, it was just me doing other people's stuff. So we currently use an app called Later. Later will schedule Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. And I originally went there because it would let you see the Instagram grid back when people cared what it looked like. That's not really the case as much now. But that's why I started to use it. But they really evolved how you're able to use that platform and are very good about having education around good marketing things. So their blog is really good. Hootsuite is like that as well. Their blog is really, I pull on Hootsuite's blog on a regular basis, just kind of tidbit there. So if you're ever looking for information, Hootsuite's blog is top tier. They're also a great platform. But later for social media scheduling, we also use CoSchedule. If you have a website that has a back end with WordPress, you can schedule your post to go up. You can update information. There's all kinds of things in CoSchedule. We use later more than we use CoSchedule. That's on the social media side. For you, those of you who are heavy on the customer service, customer relationship management, HubSpot is a great tool. It also has some marketing things in it. There is marketing, there's email marketing in there. There's social media scheduling in there. And however much you use is how much you pay. So, but it's very robust and a place to do one thing. And if I had to encourage you to use a particular tool, it might be that one because it forces you to do the business side too and not skip it. Because it's like, hey, you can put your deals in there, you can put customer information in there, you can build your email list in there. It's just a one-stop shop. Now I'm going to go all the way to the other end to Canva. And I bet y'all are like, ooh, that was a jump. Okay. So Canva, who, if they had been around when I learned all the Adobe software, I would not know all the Adobe software, have done a great job of evolving, kind of meeting the moment over the last couple of years. So not only can you do great graphic design in there if you're not a graphic designer. Now, let me say this. I strongly encourage you to use your local or a small business that is a creative entrepreneur who provides graphic design, photo services, video services. These people are also business owners. So please, when budget allows, use the people who have started a business for these services. In the meantime, work with what you have. So if you're going to use a Canva where you're able to use great graphic design templates, things of that nature, you also can schedule your social media through there. You also can do print services through there. You also can do collaborative things through there. So Canva is great. It's also great for AI. Image generating. There's a lot of apps integrated into Canva now. So if you need a low hanging place, low cost to do a lot of things in your marketing for creative purposes, content management purposes, Canva could be a really great place to start as well. So from the most robust HubSpots to the just social media laters and code schedules, all the way to the Canvas where you can get a little bit of it. It's like a Swiss Army knife of a platform. You could start there until you realize I want to go deeper in a particular place here. I need to go deeper in my email marketing. So let me see if I want to use a Constant Contact or a MailChimp. So Canva could be a good place to use, a good platform to use.
That's good.
That is, yeah. I was going to say that's great. And for you who are listening, if there's something from today's conversation that sparked an idea or encouraged you, we invite you to visit dogoodx.org. You'll find resources, events, and ways to connect with a community of entrepreneurs who are building businesses for good.
So we are going to shift to our last area here that we really enjoy, which is off the cuff. And we have a list of rapid fire questions. And we want you to say, Jacqui, just what comes off the top of your head when you hear each question, and then we'll move on to the next. So I'll go ahead and get us started. What has been the greatest lesson you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey so far?
Y'all didn't prepare me for these questions. I feel attacked.
That's why they call rapid fire off the top of your head.
You said top of my head, and I was like, "Are you sure?"
Look, quickly and succinctly.
Okay. Ask it again.
What has been the greatest lesson so far on your entrepreneurial journey?
The greatest lesson so far has been, I have two, I'll say them quickly. One is that I can't do everything. I'm one person, I'm one human, and I desire more than what's happening in my business and life. That's been one of the greater lessons. And the other one is very closely related, which is I have to fire myself sometimes in order to hire myself for the betterment of my business. And what I mean by that is I had to fire myself. Everything we do in this business is built on my own skill set. Social media marketing, email marketing, website, I can do all of that myself. But at some point I had to fire myself as a social media marketer, and I had to fire myself as a web developer because I needed a CEO. I needed a person whose job was focused on. So at some point, I had to fire myself and say, that's not your job if I wanted to grow. That was probably the biggest.
What is one go-to practice or ritual to slow down, to center, and to connect with yourself?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I'll tell you what I attempt. Um, One go-to practice. Uh, um, really, I'm the worst person to answer this question. To slow down would be, and this is all mindset for me. The practice for me is being okay with not being productive. Like that's all I can do. I have a hard time sitting still. And so that's why I say I'm the worst to answer this question. But I have learned to be okay with not defining a successful day or a successful week by the level of output I'm able to accomplish. Sometimes productivity is a break. Sometimes productivity is putting my phone down because I'm hitting a wall or that kind of thing. So my go-to practice is to almost schedule you're not going to be productive time. You can sit at that computer if you want to, but do not put a task here. Do all the clicking and back and forth between shopping and, whatever, putting it in a cart and coming back to the emails and putting it like it's okay. Schedule this as is not going to work time. And I think that's been a practice of mine because I have a hard time sitting still and being like, I could be being productive. That's not a measure of value that I need to keep close. So that's my practice, is to schedule my non-productive time.
How has your faith shaped or informed the way that you have built or lead your business?
That's a great question. And I want to thank you for that question. So my faith plays a large part because how else would this payroll get paid? So for me, my faith has become a lifestyle instead of a belief, if that makes sense. It is something that I've learned I have to walk daily. It is the difference between how will I pay payroll that's due on Friday that has to run on Wednesday and it's Tuesday and I don't see it, in those very tense situations. But it has also been, I just have an idea. But because my faith says that the being that created me is a creator, and that I possess that I can have faith that I'm built for this. I am built for creating things. I am built for ideas. I am built for seeing it through to the end. And that has been a lifestyle that I've had to adopt because I've always had a faith, but now I live a faith. And that has made all the difference.
How do you navigate challenges or build resilience?
I just ignore everything. I'm just kidding. I just ignore everything. And it's funny because it actually goes back to that faith answer. I try to fight from victory and not for it, if that makes sense. So I try to remember that there have been so many challenges in my journey as an entrepreneur where I did not know how I would make it. And now here I am again with another one. But my track record for overcoming and my track record for, being resilient and my track record for stretching my capacity and learning more and showing up more has more look you did it than it does you didn't. And so I try to check my track record and remind myself that as long as I have challenges and I need to become resilient and I need to increase who I am to show up, as long as that's happening, I'm moving forward. Because you only get that problem when you have bigger things. When you have an increase of territory, that's the only way you keep running into problems. Otherwise, you become very stagnant. And so my resiliency, a lot of times, it's like, girl, it may not have been as big of a financial issue, but it was a financial issue. Check your track record. You survived that, you'll survive this.
How much of your success do you attribute to your faith versus your own grit, will, and hustle?
It's all faith, girl. It's all, and let me tell you what I mean by that. Because the faith is not only about what is possible outside of me, it's about tapping into what is inside of me. And that hustle and that grit is a faith in itself, that it is in there somewhere. Because sometimes I don't believe that I can, right? Please know, there are a lot of days where I am maneuvering, and it takes my vice president to talk about this because she's like, I don't know how you are living your life, how you have these concerns and you still show up in these places. But the faith is not only that for everything I can't do, I know that, it'll work itself out. Some parts of that is not my job, but for the parts that are, I have to take that faith internally and say, You have everything you need in this moment. And so get up and get to work, right? So it's like a double-sided faith. There's a faith of what supports me outside of myself, but there's a faith that everything I need, if I have been blessed to get to this moment, then somewhere, whether I've ever touched that tool or not, I have it. And so go find it, get up, hone it, sharpen it. It's there. You may have to develop it a little bit, but you have what you need. And that faith kind of turns internally. So it's kind of both things. But my hustle is a result of my faith, if that makes sense.
Complete this sentence. Because of my entrepreneurial endeavors, my clients and or their communities will be more able to do what?
Heal.
Hmm.
Would you like me to expound on that? Yes? Okay. Yeah, you would think that in what I do, healing is not a part of marketing. However, because of what I do and because how I have to meet clients in conversation, I have to hear frustration. I always tell people I'm like a business therapist. I have to hear a lot of challenges and frustrations and issues, not only for the people who I'm helping with what I'm doing in my business, but also for the people that they serve, whether that's retail or airports or nonprofits that support social small businesses or creatives or whatever. But I have to hear a lot of challenge and a lot of obstacles and a lot of that. And what I hope is that the work that I do and the people that I encounter and the conversations that I have help people heal the things that keep them from finding solutions, that help them heal the things that keep their minds from going to creative spaces and saying, I can solve this, but I may not be able to do it the way that I thought I could. Maybe this message is a little different. Maybe I'm only thinking about it from my perspective. And so marketing for me and the things that I do could be very healing for communities and for my clients and for my team when they're able to take because marketing starts with us as human beings and it grows into commercial things. But there's a healing that has to happen there for belief and a reinforcement of what they are trying to accomplish. And that's a healing. And I hope anyway, that's what happens.
Well, Jacqui, we have to leave it there. And I want to say thank you for the healing work that you do and for the healing presence that you are for so many entrepreneurs and clients that rely on you for your service. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me. You all are great.
You are great. So we
Yes.
appreciate you and the work that you're up to in the world. And for those of you tuning in, I hope that you found some insights and some wisdom from this conversation with Jacqui. And please do join us next time. Until then, be well and do good.
Good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.